Sweet and Lynch are back with a new studio album. It's called Heart and Sacrifice. It's out on May the 19th, and the first single off it gives us a great taste of what's to come. It's available now to listen to. It's called You'll Never Be Alone. Go and check it out. I'm delighted to be joined now by the wonderful guitarist himself, George Lynch. Hi, George.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries at all. Thank you for joining us. Now, this is the third album you two have collaborated on. The first two, Only to Rise and Unified, were 2015, 2017. So it's been a few years, hasn't it, since you guys have worked together. What was it that got you back in the room and recording and writing together again then?
We had to pay the rent. Uh, well, it always helps, to make a little bit of dough. But no, you know, uh, when I started this thing where I do a lot of projects and work with other people, some years ago on a steady basis, there's always like this testing of the waters period where you check out the chemistry and see if it's worthwhile. And you know, we uh, we Michael and I have a certain kind of chemistry, and I think it's analogous to maybe the closest thing I can think of is to the Dokken chemistry,
Okay.
because my style and his style kind of add up to that same kind of thing. A little harder edged, more exploratory, uh, 80s music. It's like you have the melodies and you have the accessible grooves, and it's that kind of music generally, but it also we veer off and go into other areas once in a while, big hooks and all that. So I think it's really the same formula we were going after in Dokken, but just slightly different, obviously, because Michael's got a little different voice than Don
Yeah.
and that. But it's a good formula. It's very satisfying in it. And it's kind of interesting. The label that I work with on a lot of these records, Frontiers, um, is very opinionated about what they offer their fans. They're really geared, which I think
Yeah.
you probably know that they're geared
Yeah.
towards that genre of music. So, for instance, when I deliver a record, whether it's Sweet Lynch or Lynch Mob or another record, um, where most labels will just be, they leave it up to the artist to decide creatively what they want, where they what they want people to look at and listen to, and what kind of songs they want to write. Frontiers is a little more hands-on, so they're buying a product. So I have to look at it that way as well. Michael and I look at it that way. Like, look, they're expecting a certain thing, and we have to be responsible in that sense. And also, I have to say that my natural inclinations is to go off and do music that's more challenging to myself and maybe the listener a little bit, and explore other areas. Uh, but Frontiers will rein me in, so that's what happened. Actually, they rejected 7 of the songs,
Ah,
and that's
yes.
to me in my life. In 45 years of recording records, I've never had a record company say, "Oh, that song's not good enough. You have to do it a different song." I was really shocked, but I think it was good for me and good for the record. In hindsight, I wasn't incredibly happy at the moment, but they were right. So
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that actually, because I think Michael had said that the album had gone through periods of change, I think is the way he put it. So when something like that happens and the music you've put forward and the label turn around and say no, I mean, as you said there, you weren't too happy at the time, but what's your thought process then about coming up with something different? I mean, how do you channel that?
well, first it's like all the stages of grief. You have grief, and then denialism, and then sort of acceptance, and then you got to figure out how to get through it, logistically and so forth. And so I had to recalibrate uh, the way I approach the next writing, process. So writing this next batch, and actually, when I wrote the next batch, which is actually we got it down to 4 songs that they wanted rewritten. They rejected 2 of those. Um, so I really had to work at it. But what I had to make sure I did with myself was I wanted to make sure I wasn't coming from a place of ego, like I'm George Lynch and all my songs are good enough. Fuck you. You know what I mean? It's like, well, maybe they're right. You know, maybe these aren't necessarily good or bad songs. They're just not right for this record. And that was probably true. So I think I learned a good lesson there, you know, how to think a little bit more clearly when I'm writing. Because sometimes I'm in there and I don't have any direction. I'm just sort of like, you know, there's nobody there telling me what to do, you know. So I'm just kind of sometimes having too much fun, you
Yeah, good
know.
lesson.
That'd
Indeed.
be
And just talking about the album itself again, Michael had said something about the album being diverse and complex and flows beautifully. And can you elaborate on that? Give us a taste of what we can expect from Heart and Sacrifice.
well, you know, after having said everything I just said, we do have you know, half the record is that commercial melodic hard rock thing. Um, but the other half is what I personally have a little more fun with, and I think Michael did too, is, you know, a little edgier stuff. And and that's all there. And I think you have to have that because that makes the more commercial melodic stuff more acceptable, especially to guys. If they buy a record and they go, oh, I got some flowery stuff on there, but they got some hard stuff too. And Lynch is tearing it up, and Michael's, you know, killing it and singing high or whatever they like. So, you know, there's a good balance on the record, I think, definitely. And both of our favorite songs on there is not in the initial, you know, single releases. Uh, and but it will be, I think, probably down the line. It'll get released as probably, I think, a lyric video or something like that.
Oh, that's
Better than
interesting
nothing.
to hear. Yeah, that was something I was going to ask. I always ask people as well, just to tell me what their favorite song is from their new record, because people always find it hard. But you obviously got one. Can you tell us what it is?
I can't tell you what it is unless I look it up, and I don't want to get off. I mean, that's the other thing. I do so many albums that, which is stupid, by the way, to do, but whatever. But I do so many that I don't have any idea what they are. So I do interviews, and people like I just did this interview for in Japan, and they were like, they're very meticulous about, you know, details, and they wanted me to do a rundown and description of every song, like what I was thinking, how, what's it about, what are the lyrics about. You know, I didn't even know the titles. Sorry.
I love it. Absolutely love it. You're a busy man, as you said. I mean, this album itself, Heart and Sacrifice, is coming out on May the 19th, and you can pre-order it now. You can get it on streaming, of course, but there will be physical copies as well of this, and that's what people like these days. We want a CD, but I think there's a double vinyl as well, things like that. And now, how involved are you in things like that, or is it all Frontiers?
Depends on the record. On this record, I was not hands on beyond anything. Beyond once I write the music, that's pretty much it for me. I mean, I hear what Michael's doing, and but that's his world. You know, I trust him to do his thing, and he'll ask me what I think, and vice versa. I do the same with him, and we both get each other's, you know, approval on stuff. But you know, I'm not writing words. I'm not coming up with video concepts. I'm not coming up with art concepts at all. Um, that's the label and whoever that they have on there, you know, who they've hired or who's ever in the company doing that, running that stuff. On other records, I do. For instance, like the Lynch Mob record we just finished up called Babylon. That's coming out in the fall, and that's the opposite. I've had everything to do with everything, you know, art and video and all the, you know, choice of songs, everything from soup to nuts, A to Z. I'm super hands on, as are other people. But so it just really depends on the project. You know, some projects, it's interesting too, and I'm not just saying this with this particular label, but other labels I work with. In some instances, I can just be a guitar player that they've hired to write songs and play guitar, and that's my job. I'm just a hired gun, and I get paid to do that, and then I walk away. So there are projects like that, you know, that I'm not supposed to be involved. And then there's things like Lynch Mob that I own, that I've had for, you know, 30, 40 years, that, I am absolutely meticulously hands-on. So depends on the project. If I
Indeed.
have owner.
And you mentioned the new record there for Lynch Mob. I mean, it's coming out in the fall. Can you tell us a bit more about that? I mean, is Only involved in the lead singer on that one still?
No, we have a fairly new band. Jaron Galino on bass, Gabriel Colon, singer, and Jimmy DeAnd on drums, who we've been together for many, many years. So um, it's kind of a half older school guy, me and Jimmy, and then the other half is the younger cats. But they're great, and we get along great, and it's family. And I think really that's what, besides what the sound of Lynch Mob is, it's really, for me personally, I don't have any friends unless I have a band. So I have a lot of bands. So that way I have a lot of friends. That's why I do what I do. So I mean, half kidding, but we really have fun, and I think that's really important. We're genuinely all kind of on the same page, and we go out there and kill, and I love it. I mean, I view us primarily as a live band. That's my touring vehicle, and we tour as much as we can, and the younger guys, Jaron and Gabe, are, I mean, they fit like a glove. And I've tried really hard to sort of eliminate the baggage from the old school stuff. A lot of times you got to be careful with these legacy bands because they can come with a lot of baggage, and it's debilitating, and it's negative energy, and I just don't care to deal with any of that at my point in my life.
Absolutely.
We're all just happy to be where we are and not having to, work down in the mines and die in a black lung at 52.
Indeed. We are blessed. We are blessed. And in terms of that record itself, I mean, have we got a name for it? Can we hear what the name is and things like that?
Yeah, called Babylon.
Fantastic. So we look forward to hearing that in the fall. That sounds brilliant.